from the Daily Mail. Ice cream company Ben & Jerry's has sparked outrage with their 4th of July tweet. This is a while ago. Give me a break, huh? I've been busy, I've been tired, there's a bit of lag in between, when something happens and when I comment on it. That's also a good thing because the longer the amount of time that passes before I comment, the more information comes out and the better my take can be. So Ben & Jerry sparked outrage with a July 4th tweet calling for the United States to return stolen indigenous land. I don't know why these companies keep getting involved in politics. It's almost as if they don't care about making money. They just want to use their business to push a certain narrative. Starting with giving Mount Rushmore back to the Lakota Sioux tribe. Didn't the Lakota Sioux tribe sue and get awarded like $100 million something fucking dollars back in like 1970, which would be like $300, $400, $500 million today? So they got a big bunch of cash. So now they have no grounds to be demanding Mount Rushmore back because they got paid already. It's idiotic. And of course, you can count on Ben & Jerry's hippie founders not to know these facts because they're morons who know nothing about history. Oh, anyway, before I get into this story, I'd like to ask those of you out there that like and appreciate the raw, red-pilled nature of my content to please go check out my BitChute channel at bitchute.com/The Realist Philosopher. That is bitchute.com/The Realist Philosopher. I have been producing content now for more than 7 years. I believe 5 or 6 of them on BitChute. Before that on YouTube, where I had a pretty big channel actually before it got, erased because I was saying the wrong shit. But anyway, yeah, go check it out. bitchute.com/The Realist Philosopher. You will find more than 1,600 pieces of red-pilled content. That's 1,600 pieces. Yo! You want to get the truth? Raw and real? That's the place to do it. That's bitchute.com/The Realist Philosopher. Go check it out, subscribe, like, and leave some comments, baby. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, back to the story. So, the company, Ben & Jerry's, which was founded by longtime Bernie Sanders allies, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenwood, excuse me, but has since been sold to British multinational Unilever, tweeted the message to its 494,000 followers. Oh. So they decided to tank their brand after they sold it. That's lovely. Great. We already made ours, so fuck you, Unilever. Oh, and also Bernie supporters. Yeah, that tells me all I need to know about them. So this July 4th, here's the tweet, by the way. Good Lord. Talk about ruining your legacy. And what kind of legacy is it anyway? Giving millions of people diabetes? This 4th of July, it's high time it's not even very good fucking ice cream. But it is overpriced. This 4th of July, it's high time we recognize that the U.S. exists on stolen indigenous land. Stolen? Get the fuck out of here. And commit to returning it. Why don't we start with you, Pinhead? We sold it. We don't have to return nothing now. Unilever has to return it. How about your house? How about your mansions that you live in? I guarantee you at some point in time there was some Native Americans, they're not even native by the way, Indians running around hunting buffalo on the land that your mansion's on. You gonna give that back? Nah. No, of course not. It's great. The company's official account wrote before suggesting Mount Rushmore should be handed back to its original owners. Oh, Mount Rushmore, yeah. Those evil white men enshrined in history. In that evil, horrible, oppressive rock face. Yeah. With faces on it. By the way, was the land stolen or was it conquered? Because, believe me, there's a difference, yo. As conquering means, we earned it, bitches. We earned it. We earned it in a way that at the time was recognized the world over as legitimate. So don't give me this stolen crap. We didn't sneak in and fucking pull the rug out from under these people, okay? We came in. They didn't like us. They tried to kill us. We tried to kill them. There was war. And by the way, 90% of these motherfuckers died from disease. During a time where we didn't even know what disease was. I mean, we knew what disease was, but we didn't know how it was fucking spread. We didn't know underlying germ theory. Oh, but we evil whiteys killed them. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Oh, by the way, there's a difference between stolen and something we won in competition. A competition of nations, I might add. We competed. They lost. What happened to survival of the fittest? No. We want the unfittest to survive, because that's how the human species is going to, thrive and survive and multiply into the future, by promoting the least fit. Well, makes a lot of sense. Well, that's the left and their ideology in a nutshell, right? Which is why they don't want to compete and love communism. And why communism eventually ends up parasitically surviving off of those who can produce. And then it disincentivizes them from producing. But anyway, let's not get off on a tangent. Let's continue on this subject. But anyway, you lost. You lost, Indians. Get over it. Deal with it. Move on, bitches. It's been hundreds of years. Well, it's been at least 100. It's been over 100. Even since the Trail of Tears, it's been over 100. Get the fuck over it, all right? Anyway, the tweet sparked immediate outrage on social media. Yeah. Conservatives are starting to find out they have a voice, yo. First, they decided to boycott Bud Light because they pushed a tranny as their spokesperson, and it's like, wait a second. Aren't there like a gajillion other fucking beers I could drink? Why am I going to drink this piss swill? Because it's cheap? Isn't there other cheap piss swill out there, like Coors Light and shit? I mean, I could just drink that, right? Durr! Oh, the same goes for ice cream. And by the way, their ice cream isn't even that fucking good. What is it, 10, 12 bucks for a pint or something? It's ridiculous. It's crazy how much it's priced. And a lot of the time, they're not even using real milk or fucking whatever you put in ice cream. Is it even, what kind of sugar? It's processed sugar? Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible for you. I know fat people love it, but, I mean, is ice cream good for you? Can you live without ice cream? Yeah. And by the way, you don't have to. There's tons of other brands that are better. Yeah, they sparked outrage on social media, which many disgusted customers used the boycott, the hashtag boycott Ben & Jerry's to slam the message as anti-American sentiment on a day meant to celebrate the United States. Yeah, what a horrible... I mean, they're all a bunch of regressive lefty morons anyway, but they decide to push this nonsense on the 4th of July. Bad idea. Bad idea. These people think they can get away with this shit because they've gotten away with it to date. Because people on the right, they're too busy working and earning a living and doing shit that actually matters to worry about this grievance culture bullshit that you people on the left push. But they're starting to get tired of it, okay? They're starting to get tired of your bullshit. And now they're finding they have a voice also. They have power also. And they can take away half the fucking country's purchasing power that is used to buy your crap. What's Bud Light? Their sales have went down, 30% already? And they're still tumbling? Of course, the company that owns Bud Light, I don't believe is even based in America, so, yeah. Anyway, it's so interesting how the right has discovered the power of intolerance in regards to the intolerable among us. You need to tolerate us. You need to be tolerable. Are you going to be tolerable, lefty? No, I'm going to be very intolerable. But you need to be tolerable of me and my intolerance. But now they're figuring out they have power. And what's happening? The left is trying to shame people on the right for using the very weapon that the left is best known for utilizing, which is, of course, why they're so angry. You're fighting fire with fire. How dare you? More interesting still is that the left are the ones doing the shaming. I love it. Don't shame me as I shame you for shaming me. But you're not shaming me, but I'm shaming you. Oh, but their shaming is justified because, you see, they know the truth because they have the power. And since they have the power, everything that they say is true, even though if it's not objectively true. And you don't know the truth because your truth is truth, but only if it aligns with my truth, which is the actual truth. So truth is objective. Only if it aligns with my narrative. Oh, okay, lefties, whatever. Makes no sense whatsoever. One commenter compared the statement to Bud Light partnering with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, which resulted in the beer giant losing more than $20 billion in market cap. Didn't Dylan Mulvaney flee the country? Isn't he in Peru now or something? Because he can't handle the hate? I don't know how much they're going to like you in Peru either, pal. It's obvious you're a dude dressed up as a dudette. You think that more traditional country is not going to look at you like you're a freak? It's okay. I can't understand them calling me freaks. I don't speak Peruvian. Whatever the fuck they're talking. Yeah. Yeah. You'd think these people would learn from Bud Light. You really would think, but they don't learn. Yeah. Unless someone else other than the consumer is filling their pockets and funding their businesses. See, these people, you would think, well, Bud Light loses all that money, so why would all these other companies continue to push this woke agenda if they're afraid of losing money? Unless, of course, there's interested parties, investors, like BlackRock and other such investment companies who are putting money into the pockets of these CEOs and investing tons of cashola like they did with fucking Twitter that had $20 billion in debt. Investor money that Elon Musk now has to buy back because in buying the company, he also bought all that debt. Nobody knew about that debt until he bought that company. It's like, oh, geez, Twitter had all this debt? What was it funding? The pushing of the woke, libtard narrative and the hiring of 7,000 useless people to be content moderators, basically to essentially police speech and push woke crap. And we're paying for it, by the way, because companies like BlackRock get their money from you and me in the form of 401k plans and, other pension funds that we pay into. And then they use that money to invest in companies like Bud Light and Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, so we're paying for our own indoctrination. And that's why these companies don't care about losing all this money because they're getting paid behind the scenes, baby. More money than they'd ever get from you or me. And even if it's not, well, the CEOs of those companies are getting paid. Big time. But anyway, yeah, that explains that. Anyway, the article goes on to say, long overdue for the Bud Light treatment. You hate the country? Fine. We won't buy your product. All good. Yeah, I can survive without it. I haven't had ice cream in years. I don't need it. Another commenter called for boycott Ben and Jerry's for as being hateful and divisive to Americans on July 4th. Basically, Ben and Jerry's are being hateful and divisive. Of course. That's what they're getting paid to do. And they're not getting paid. Well, they are getting paid by you and me to do that. So even if we deprive them of buying their crappy product, companies like BlackRock will continue to pump money into them in the form of investment money. And of course, there'll be money going into offshore bank accounts that have been opened by, the people running Ben and Jerry's, allegedly. Anyway, sowing hate and division whilst pretending to be all about love and acceptance, that's what the left's about. And now big corporations are all about that as well. Of course. Best way to spread the message, baby. Joseph Massey called them hypocrites for all the cows that had to suffer to make the company's ice cream. Yes. Yeah, what about all these poor oppressed cows, that you're using and abusing and sucking on their teats just so you can get milk? Do they even use real cream in Ben & Jerry's? I guess they do. I don't know. Anyway, first, you need to apologize to the millions of cows you milk without consent, Joseph Massey wrote. Your product is colonialist misogyny in the form of overpriced dessert. Right, it's female cows that they're milking, misogyny. Female cow hate. But it's only the gender that matters, not the race, so it's misogyny still. Stop feeding the people cow trauma. That's great. I love it. By the way, are the hippies and founders of Ben & Jerry's, are they vegans also? I mean, do vegans drink milk? It comes from an animal, right? Is it okay to drink milk if you're a vegan? If the cow doesn't get killed? By the way, isn't the cow eventually killed when they don't have the ability to produce good milk anymore? But it's not killed to get the milk, so does that make it okay to drink milk if you're a vegan? Since the animal wasn't harmed to get the milk, but couldn't you argue that milking these cows and locking them in this tiny stall 24/7 and just suck in their teats is abuse and trauma, and therefore if you're a vegan you shouldn't be drinking milk? I don't know. It's a rabbit hole. I just went down that rabbit hole. It's absurd, regardless. I don't give a fuck about cows. I care about people. Anyway, are they vegans? I don't know. Since socialism, communism seem to go hand in hand with veganism. Yeah. The application of the oppressor versus oppressed principle being applied. I wouldn't be surprised if they're vegans. I don't know for sure, though, so I won't speak about it anymore. And the hypocrisy of this unless I know for sure they're vegans. Seeing as they produce and likely eat ice cream, I would think it's their main product. which is made using cow milk. I doubt they're vegans. Are you a vegan if you drink milk? I don't think you could be classified as such. I don't know. Though some vegans do drink milk and eat cheese, I guess. What's the qualification for being a vegan? You don't. The animal doesn't die? But if there's still abuse going on, I don't know. I guess the justification is they don't kill animals in the process. Anyway, let's continue. Kevin Dalton continued on about the hypocrisy, noting that technically Ben & Jerry's own factories are on stolen land. That's a good point. Which I'm going to go into later, by the way, and in more depth. Don't worry. Anyhow, the guy goes on to say, I look forward to the virtue signaling Ben & Jerry's returning their factory's land to the Abenaki and Mohican native tribes that lived in Vermont for 10,000 years. It's a good point. It's a good point. Of course, you know that's not going to happen, as socialists rarely, if ever, promote anything that'll flip the bill and require them to give up their property. You know, if a socialist actually owns anything. Get all these socialists running around talking about how, I don't believe in private ownership. You have a car? Yeah. Get rid of it. Give it to a poor, pathetic, oppressed minority. No, I need my car. I live in this capitalist system, don't you know? And I have to have a car to survive in this system. I didn't create this system, but I'm going to continue to participate in this system that I call evil and oppressive and exploitative. Couldn't you choose not to? Couldn't you go like live in an Amish community or something? Shut up, bigot. I like my iPhone. It's made by little tiny kitties who mine cobalt and lithium. Well, it's not made by those kids, but without those kids, you wouldn't have the cobalt and lithium to make that phone. But that's another subject for another episode. Anyway, somebody named Libby Emmons goes on to say, this is stupid and nothing more than pandering nonsense. Correct, it is. But if you're being paid off to do said pandering, you're not too concerned about sales, as the consumer isn't the one that's buttering your bread, as it were. Ben & Jerry's has, throughout its history, been a supporter of far-left causes and partnered with various movements for social justice. So I don't know what social justice means. Oh, yeah, the collectivization of guilt and wrongdoing in the world to certain groups of people. White males! So you can then blame them for those evil wrongs to justify stealing their shit. Gotcha. Anyway, the article continues by saying, the tweet then linked to a post on the company's website explaining why Americans should start with Mount Rushmore and how they hope to support a movement that would dismantle white supremacy and systems of oppression. I called it. I called it. These people are so predictable, though. Clearly, they're only talking about the government, though, and government-owned land. But why only government land? And by the way, isn't their land stolen as well? I mean, stolen is stolen, right? And since their headquarters, Ben & Jerry's headquarters, is also on supposed stolen land, should it really matter that it's privately owned? Especially considering that government land is simply land owned by all of us taxpayers? Meaning owned by the people? Why should less owners make Ben & Jerry's land exempt if it fits their own criteria for stolen land? Because I've got the right narrative, motherfucker! So you gotta reward me by not holding me up to the same standards that I hold you up to. Or the evil right up to. Yeah. The 4th of July. Who doesn't love a good parade, some tasty barbecue, and a stirring fireworks display? The only problem with all that, though, is that it can distract from an essential truth about this nation's birth. That the U.S. was founded on stolen indigenous land. Oh, was it Ben & Jerry's? By the way, isn't literally every fucking nation founded on stolen land? I mean, didn't current land once belong to someone else? Everywhere? Doesn't everyone live on land that at some point was supposedly stolen, conquered by someone else, by their ancestors? Doesn't everyone live on land that was supposedly stolen by that criteria? I mean, by this logic, every country in the motherfucking world has to find out who first settled there and then strive to return that land to the ancestors of those who were there first. How the fuck are you going to do that? Can you imagine the logistical nightmare that would be? I mean, how do you find that out? And what if there's no one left that was descended from those very first people who can somehow prove that they were there before anybody else, which seems to be the criteria for what the left calls ownership, which they themselves don't believe in. So why are they making these fucking arguments? Because they know that you on the right, who own all the shit because they're too lazy, they're socialist scumbags, they're too lazy to work hard and accrue resources and wealth to own anything, they know you believe in that you believe in ownership. They as commies don't. Oh, so how do you find out? How do you find out? And by the way, how do you handle the situation if it's just like one person left? We found this one guy who was a descendant of those 100,000 people that originally lived here. Let's give him North Dakota. Let's give him Germany. Holy shit. Talk about a centralization of power. Talk about power imbalance, yo. You just created an emperor. Congratulations. Talk about too much centralized power. How do you... I don't get this. By the way, doesn't this go against the left's own teachings? That essentially you have nothing to do with the achievements of your ancestors, so you don't have any basis to feel pride in your race or nationality? I mean, how can you be responsible for the wrongdoings of your ancestors if you can't claim responsibility for the or some kind of connection to their positive achievements? I don't get it. Oh, right. You see, these particular standards are only ignored when it comes to white people and holding them to task, as they've got the most shit to steal and currently hold the record for most countries conquered, at least of late. So yeah, they're responsible for all the wrongdoings of their ancestors, but they can't claim any responsibility or link or pride in the accomplishments of their white ancestors, which are none, by the way. Really? Now, how'd they get so much shit? Oh, it's stolen. How'd they manage to steal it? Apparently, you weren't very good at defending your shit. And us getting all that shit, stealing all that shit, if we agree that it was stolen, which it wasn't, but let's just say we agree, for the sake of argument, that it was. How did we steal so much shit from you? And by the way, doesn't the left support stealing? Oh, well, nobody's stealing anything unless they need it. I can't imagine anybody shoplifting or stealing Gucci bags unless they need it. They need to sell that product so they get money to feed their children. Because nobody's stealing just because, they're greedy fucks and at the same time too lazy to work and they want easy money. No! Anybody that's a criminal, they're stealing because they have to. Well, that means that Whitey, that supposedly stole all this land, only did it because he had to, right? So you got to forgive him. This all is so stupid. Anyway, I suppose the Mongols, by the way, they got us Whiteys beat, right? Didn't they conquer most of the known world? Oh, yeah, but that was a long time ago. And that clearly doesn't matter to the left. You don't see them demanding that Mongols return any shit that their ancestors stole 1,000 years ago. Oh, right. Mongols are now a bunch of poor, broke mofos. They ain't got nothing to steal, so we ain't going to make that argument. But Whitey, he got a ton of shit we could take. Yes, let's collectivize all his guilt and steal his shit. Oh, yeah, the Mongols are too poor. Anyway, the article goes on to say that the Lakota Sioux tribe referred to Mount Rushmore as Tunkasilla Sakpe. I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation. And that the tribe considers the land sacred. They consider it sacred. Yeah, too bad. Too bad. You lost. Get over it. Tough luck. You can go pound sand, okay? I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. You lost. It's been hundreds of years. Move on, bitches. I'm so tired of this grievance culture. I'm so tired of this fucking grievance culture. It's just not a good thing. Bitching and moaning about the losses of your ancestors and focusing on those losses is why you can't get ahead in the world. So, of course, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you never try to get ahead because you think you never can. You're totally focused on the past instead of the present and creating some kind of future for yourself. You weakling bitches. Oh, using that as an excuse for why you can't get ahead. It's so pathetic. Meanwhile, your life is shit, and you don't do anything about it because all you do is talk about and tell everybody about what a victim you are. Yeah. Pathetic. Anyway, the article in question basically running interference for Ben and Jerry's, also cites treaties that allowed the tribes to keep Mount Rushmore dating back to the 1920s, and a Supreme Court decision that ruled the land had, in fact, been stolen from the Lakota tribe after they staged the sit-in 1970. Okay, so why isn't the land been given back? Why hasn't it been given back? The Supreme Court ruled on something, right? Huh? Why don't they have Mount Rushmore back? Why aren't we looking at the heads of a sitting eagle and whatever other fucking Indian leaders that they revere so much, huh? Number one, because the Indians don't have the engineering capability to produce a monument like Mount Rushmore for their leaders, and number two, the land didn't get given back. The court ruled that the Lakota Sioux were due $105 million. Supreme Court gave them $105 million. What are they bitching about? We paid you. Oh, they refused the payment. Instead, demanded their land back. It's pathetic. How pathetic. They refused it. You could have done a lot of good with that $105 million. How much is $105 million in 1970 in today's money? $500 million? Yeah, you could have built a dozen casinos, bitches. Further degenerated your own fucking tribes by pushing gambling addiction and alcoholism and being a degenerate scumbag. You could have pushed laziness and being a sloth on all your people. Hey, all the Lakota Sioux, if you support the building of this casino, you'll each get a tiny, tiny little percentage of the profit. Woohoo! Yeah. Sit there and get drunk all day while you watch Oprah. Yeah. That's really helping you people out. Yeah. And they didn't even take the money. They turned it down. Well, there you go. $105 million. That's a crap load of money. What's that? It's got to be $400 or $500 million in today's dollars with inflation. I mean, that sounds like a fair settlement. I mean, it's just a mountain. You can't plant anything there. You can't do anything productive with it. Except maybe, again, spend 200-300 years with fucking hand tools creating a monument to Sitting Bull after you obliterate the 4 evil white dudes that faces have been immortalized in stone. Maybe you can charge an entrance fee after a few centuries with your little hand tools because you don't have the real technology without Whitey's inventions to create a monument of your own that you could pay people could pay to see. Oh, yeah. It sounds like a fair settlement, and they turned it down. I mean, what? They just wanted to continue to claim to be victims, right? They didn't want the land back. They didn't want the money. They wanted to continue to claim some kind of ownership of the land. Look, we didn't get our land back. That's our land. Give us our land back. You got $105 million. What are you complaining about, bitch? We turned the money down so we could continue to claim to be victims. So we could continue to cry foul. Yeah, because they'll never give the land back, right? It's pathetic. Can you imagine what they could have done with that kind of money? Such a small tribe. How much could that have helped their people? Well, maybe not so much. I don't know. You know what really helped these people? Tell them they're not victims and get off your ass and get a fucking job. Get some work. Be productive. Stop moaning and groaning about Whitey beating you in a war 200 years ago. Anyway, the ice cream giant then announced its support for the land back movement. Yeah. Which it says is about restoring the rights and freedoms of indigenous people. They're not indigenous. I'm so tired of hearing that indigenous. These motherfuckers evolved in Africa just like the rest of us. The only people that are indigenous on this planet are Africans living in Africa right now. Apparently, they only believe in returning land they don't currently own, by the way, which I find extremely amusing. Yeah. You would think you would practice what you preach. No. That's the one thing lefties don't do, but they want you to practice what they preach. Anyway, the article goes on to say, it's about dismantling white supremacy. How did we become supreme? Huh? How did we become supreme? Answer that question. I don't want to answer that. You were better at fighting wars and inventing shit. There you go. So we earned it. And systems of oppression. And ensuring that, by the way, how do you explain the oppression that's happening right now in South Africa, which is black on black? Isn't that black oppression? They're not going to talk about that. And ensuring that indigenous people, they're not indigenous, can again govern their land. They have reservations. They govern there, and guess what? There's no reservations doing well. They're all shit. They're all crap. They're all backwards places. A lot of them don't even have indoor plumbing. They govern their land and their communities. They called home for thousands of years. Yeah, but where'd they come from? They didn't grow up here. They didn't evolve here. They crossed the fucking land bridge. By the way, aren't the guys that founded Ben and Jerry's also white? Yeah, typical self-hatred of your white liberal. By the way, how can you own land when you didn't enclose it, you didn't improve it, and you didn't even live on it for a long period of time? I mean, do nomads actually own land? I mean, have they made a claim or staked that parcel of land? I mean, by the way, isn't land ownership a mostly Western idea? I mean, Indians, before Whitey came here, didn't have any conception of land ownership. And they also killed each other and took each other's hunting grounds countless times over thousands of years. Years which they advanced not a lick. No metal, no machinery of any kind, stone arrowheads throughout. Hell, they didn't even have horses until the Spanish brought them over. I thought the natives were noble savages who eschewed any and all kinds of Western ideals in favor of their own. In that case, they owned no land going by their own beliefs, which is true by Western standards even, because even by Western standards, they didn't own the land because they didn't do what was required to claim said ownership. And nothing was stolen from them. No, they were conquered. Also, who would you return the land to? Okay, I want to ask the question, who are you going to give it to? Even if you could prove that that person owned it, which they didn't, hey, you're going to take it away from somebody who has developed it, enclosed it, lives on it, has actually done what's required to claim it, has improved it, is using it for some productive means, and you're going to steal it from them? How are you going to do that? How are you going to justify that? And let's look at the past, by the way. There was so much stealing of hunting grounds going on back then by different Indian tribes, not Native Americans. They're not native insofar as indigenous, meaning they evolved there. No. I mean, by their own definition, I'm an indigenous person because I was born here. They were born in the Americas, but they didn't come from there originally. So enough with this indigenous bullshit. But anyway, the Indians stole hunting grounds from each other. How do you determine through that historical mishmash of information? How do you find out who the original first person was that hunted that ground and give it back to them? And what if there's none of their ancestors exist? And by the way, again, how do these people even have any claim to any of the land if you're not allowed to lay claim to the achievements, accomplishments of your ancestors? That only applies if you're white. Oh, I see. Oh, anyway, Ben & Jerry's has continued to push its woke agenda under CEO Dave Stever and its current owners, Unilever, having partnered with the likes of Stephen Colbert, Colin Kaepernick, Megan Rapinoe, and Squad Congresswoman Cori Bush. Yeah, it's a big shocker that, yeah. All a bunch of wokey sellouts who got into politics to make a quick buck. People with no morals or ethics of any kind. People who lack integrity and would sell their mother if the price was right. But I find it so interesting. I find it so interesting that these people are upset and can leverage as an excuse this idea of the Indians owning the land to get something that is essentially unearned. You need to give us back what you got through conquering us. Notice that they don't make this argument of their fellow Indian tribes. I'm sure that land that the Sioux are claiming ownership now was at some point, and that they didn't even have ownership. Indian beliefs don't have the idea of ownership. One of their more famous sayings is like, arguing over who owns the land is like two ticks arguing over who owns the dog they live on. They don't have any conception of ownership. The noble savage. They're trying to use Western ideals and ideas and conception of ownership to claim that the land was stolen. But even by Western ideals and concepts, they don't and never did own the land. And yet they're trying to say that the land was stolen from them, something they didn't own to begin with. How the fuck can you steal something from someone if they didn't own it in the first place? But anyway, let me know what you think of this absurdity, this nonsense that has already cost Ben & Jerry's billions, but with a big B, billions of dollars. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And please like and subscribe to my BitChute channel if you have not already. BitChute.com/The Realist Philosopher. That's BitChute.com/The Realist Philosopher. Go check it out, like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.